I was in sales most of my life, so now I've been in real estate for about 3 years full time.
And at this point, how many deals have you done?
As a team, we've done over 50.
Holy shit. One thing I really want to touch on also is, so you say you're the sober real estate investor. We talk about that.
Let me step back. Yeah, so I've been sober now for just over 7 years. I started doing oxys where I started feeling sick if I didn't have them. And that's when I knew I had a problem. And one day I couldn't get oxy. So my friend was like, hey, you should just try this. And I was like, well, what is it? He's like, don't worry about it. You'll feel better. Afterwards, he was like, well, that was heroin. This is going to be a lot cheaper. My addiction has been a crazy, up and down. In the beginning, it wasn't so bad. And then in the end, it was just completely losing everything and basically starting from scratch.
So what made you get sober?
It was actually my brother. I still to this day don't know how. He found me and where I was in San Francisco and was like, hey, we can get you some help. And if I can do it, I know anybody else can.
What's one piece of advice that you'd give to someone who is thinking about it or is struggling with addiction? What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Lowdown. Today, I'm joined by Alex Kamenetsky. He is also known as the sober real estate investor on Instagram. Super excited to have him on. So Alex, welcome to the show.
Really appreciate you having me.
Of course, dude. So big picture, what is it that you do right now? Or if say we met an Uber for the first time or an elevator, what's just a quick rundown of what you do?
Yeah, a quick rundown of what we do is right now we're mostly focusing on flips. We have done a ton of creative finance deals, a lot of sub-2 and seller financing, but our main priority right now has been the flips.
Okay. And at this point, how many deals have you done?
As a team, we've done over 50.
Okay. Holy shit. 50 deals. Okay. Well, that's amazing. And are they all in California or are they throughout the whole nation or?
Throughout the whole nation.
Okay. Cool. And what is it that you did before real estate? Have you done real estate forever or what did you do before this?
No, I haven't done real estate forever. Actually, before I was in sales most of my life. So I originally started in car sales and I went to work at Verizon for a couple years. I also worked at selling these devices kind of like Life Alert. So it's a variety of things. And now I've been in real estate for about 3 years full time.
Okay. Damn. Was that transition easy for you to go from sales to real estate?
Well, being in sales definitely helps for real estate, right? I feel like in real estate, you have to be able to talk to people, be able to build rapport, and essentially just be friends with a lot of people because if you're not being friendly, nobody's going to treat you right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what was that, I guess, pivotal moment when you were like, I'm really going to go into real estate full time?
It's when I got laid off my last W-2 job. So I was in tech sales. I was selling data analytics, which was super boring for me, but I was there for about a year. And I got laid off and was already looking into creative finance. I was looking at Pace Morby, and then I knew it was a sign that this was time for me to go all in, and I did, and here I am.
Nice. And for people who don't know what creative finance is, could you just talk about that briefly?
Absolutely. So creative finance is essentially two things. It's seller financing and subject to. So subject to is where you're able to take over somebody's really low interest rate. Let's just say there's a seller that's in foreclosure. They just can't make their mortgage payments anymore. We're able to come in and essentially take over their loan for them and be responsible for that loan and get them out of a bad situation. And it's a win-win because we're able to get a super low interest rate and we're able to help people get out of bad situations.
Got it. Okay. And why is it, I think a lot of people just really don't know what this is. Even when you talk to other realtors and all that stuff, no one is familiar with subject to or creative financing. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's a really gray area. So a lot of realtors and people just think it's kind of fishy and they're just unsure until you actually understand how it works, and then it can make sense.
Got it. Okay. What are some of the biggest benefits of doing the sub-2 again?
Well, biggest benefits for the sellers is they don't have to pay their loan anymore if they're in a bad situation. And then we're also able to get really low interest rates and not actually have to qualify through a bank. So all the deals that we've ever gotten, we've never had to get qualified. Our credit has never been checked or anything like that.
Got it. Okay. And where are you finding these specific sellers?
A lot of the deals that we found were on market. So they were just on market, low equity, pretty much all of them were through direct to agent.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So how many creative deals have you done at this point?
Over 50.
50, just creative?
Yep.
Okay. Damn. So what's been your most creative one or favorite one that you've done so far?
The most favorite one I would have to say is the one that we have in Green Valley Ranch. That one was a 2.5% interest rate. So the entry was about 40,000 and it doesn't really cash flow much, about $100 a month, but I would say that's our favorite one.
Okay. What was the seller situation and all that stuff?
They actually didn't pay their mortgage for a year and they got it all put on the back end and we were able to come in and basically take over that mortgage and now they don't have to pay it for it anymore.
Damn. Okay. Well, that sounds like a solid deal if you can find the sub two stuff for sure. One thing I really want to touch on also is you said you got into flipping, right? Well, why was that transition, or how was that transition going from creative to financing to flipping?
So we originally started flipping not too long ago. We have a lot of sub two deals and we wanted to change it up a little bit. And flipping is just super exciting for us. So we started it and it's been really fun ever since.
Nice. And at this point, I mean, you said you've done 50 creative deals. Do you have a team under you? Do you have some partners?
Yeah,
Like,
it's me and two other business partners. Right now, it's just us and we have a couple VAs as well.
okay. And how have you been able, like, what were some of the biggest challenges, I guess, going from 0 to 50? Was it just doing everything yourself? Was it just deal flow? What was it that you had issues with?
I would say issues is just having your SOPs. If you have the right SOPs, things become much easier.
And what are SOPs for people who don't know?
Standard operating procedures.
Got it. Then what are the specific SOPs that you're talking about?
So it'll depend, right? If it's like for wholesaling, you'll have different SOPs. For wraps, you'll have a different SOP. Is just kind of figuring out exactly what works best and then focusing on that and then basically making it work perfectly.
Got it. Okay. Okay. That's awesome. So I want to take another step back. It's like, how did you even get to that first one? What was your very first deal?
So I'll take a step back as well. So before I got laid off, I was really studying creative finance, just really wanting to get into it. And then the universe was like, all right, well, it's time for you to go. And I got laid off actually the same day as my flight to go to my first conference with Grant Cardone, Pace, Rob Deerdeck. And I knew this was a sign that I needed to be an entrepreneur and I didn't ever look back. And so I was just kept pursuing and was able to make it through. But I didn't get my first deal for 4 to 5 months, I would say. And this was just me originally cold calling agents to try to get creative deals. And originally I started wholesaling sub two deals. So it was just constant calling pretty much all day long and building relationships with agents. And then one particular agent, we did about 15 deals together.
Wow.
And it was all just from phone calls and just building relationships. And me and him actually ended up going snowboarding a lot together. So we actually became friends after everything.
Nice. Well, it's crazy how everything happens for a reason. I mean, I think getting laid off is the biggest blessing in disguise, because I think when you go all in on something, there seems to be tenfold like the benefits and all that stuff. Would you agree?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you for sticking with it. 4 or 5 months definitely takes a long time, but it's awesome that you're able to do that. One thing I really want to touch on also is, so you say you're the sober real estate investor. We talk about that.
Absolutely.
So what's your story with all that stuff?
Yeah. So let me step back. So I've been sober now for just over 7 years. When I was a kid, I just dabbled with weed and I thought it was totally okay. I was like 12 years old in about seventh grade. And so it originally started with that. I thought it was totally fine. And then eventually I started dipping into cough syrup. The reason I even tried cough syrup was because I had bronchitis from smoking cigarettes. And I was just a young kid, didn't know any better. And then I was like, wow, this cough syrup makes me feel amazing. And I had no idea that it was an opiate. I didn't even know what the heck that was.
Mhm.
But actually, let me back up a little bit before. I also was put on Ritalin and like ADHD medication because they told me they're like, oh, well, you're slow, you have ADD, this is going to help you. And so that did not help at all. It just like made me all wired as a kid.
Mhm.
So that's essentially where my addiction started from. And I didn't really realize that until kind of recently. I just thought that was normal, to be doing these things as a kid, which obviously it's not. But that's how my addiction essentially started. And over time, it got worse and worse. I started doing opiates at a super young age, like 12, 13, and started getting Vicodins and Percocets. Honestly had no idea that I was even addicted until I started doing oxys, where like I started feeling sick if I didn't have them. And that's when I knew I had a problem, but was like, all right, well, this is just part of my life. So I'm just going to start taking this every day. And eventually I started taking a ton of oxys. And one day I couldn't get oxy. So my friend was like, "Hey, you should just try this." And I was like, "Well, what is it?" He's like, "Don't worry about it. Like, you'll feel better. You're not going to be dope sick anymore. You'll be fine." And I'm like, "Okay, let me try it." And then afterwards, he was like, "Well, that was heroin. This is going to
Wait,
be a lot cheaper than doing oxys all the time." I'm like, "Well, I mean, I guess it's cheaper and it's just easier to access." Like, if I just justified it like crazy. And so that's when my heroin addiction really started. I was about 18. And then after a while, I started doing meth and then mixing everything together. And eventually I lost everything. Well, multiple times I did. And so what ended up happening is I went to rehab multiple times. Nothing was helping. And so over time, I just like was a huge addict basically and would just steal, just do whatever you have to do to get drugs. And I ended up being homeless for a couple years actually in the Tenderloin. And it was kind of a crazy experience in my life for sure, but I feel like I had to go through all of these things, right, to get to where I'm at today. But at the end of it all, like if I didn't go through all these things, I wouldn't be able to first of all like help other people who were in my situation, and also the lessons that I learned are invaluable, right?
mhm.
So like my addiction has been a crazy like up and down. In the beginning it wasn't so bad, and then in the end it was just like completely losing everything and basically starting from scratch. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's how my addiction got. And now I'm just over 7 years sober, which has been
Congrats.
amazing. I
Yeah, dude.
appreciate it.
I'm super, super proud of you, and I really appreciate you for being so vulnerable on here. It's very, very challenging and hard. I can't even imagine everything that you went through, but just to be able to talk about it so freely now, it's like takes a lot of courage. So I really appreciate you talking about it all.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think the main thing is like if I'm able to help other people who were in my situation before, I think that's huge, right? I've seen a lot of people basically die in front of me and just like die over the years. I'm just like, this is nuts. So if I can prevent that from happening, it would be amazing.
Yeah. Are you okay if we talk about it a little bit more? I'm just like
Yeah,
have some
yeah,
more
yeah, of
questions.
course.
Like, where did you even get like all the Vicodins and all that stuff or oxys?
Well, yeah, like in middle school and high school, it was pretty easy to buy basically. Like I was able to just,
But did you have a job? Like, how did you even get the money to buy that?
well, I actually originally like sold fireworks in middle school. And then with that money, with that money, I was able to buy other things.
Got it. Okay. So from 13 to 18, you said you're doing pills pretty much. And then from 18 to like 20, you're doing like heroin.
Exactly.
Got it. Damn, that's fucking crazy.
And then I got sober at 23. So up until that point, I was just doing a ton of drugs and thought it was completely okay, which it's definitely not. And I think it's once I actually started shooting drugs, that's when my life really went to shit. It just 0 to 100 really, really fast. I couldn't control it. And it was just like, this didn't really seem like life was real, if that makes sense. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
knew things were happening, but it's like all I cared about was the next high and to not be dope sick.
Mm-hmm.
Like my goal in life at that point was to just not feel shitty. If I didn't feel shitty that day because I had enough, like basically had enough drugs, then I was good. I didn't care about anything else, which is really crazy to
Yeah.
look back at.
So I've never spoken to anyone who's done heroin or anything like that. Like, what are the side effects of it, or like what does it make you feel like?
I mean, it feels great. Like it's like the best thing ever, but the side effects are endless. I mean, it's just like you lose everything. You just can't think about anything else. It's one of the worst things that you could possibly do.
Do you
It's
get like any visuals? Do you? Like, I have no idea. Is it like a psychedelic at all, where you just like kind of have no sense of like reality or anything like that, or just it's like this where you're aware of everything, but yeah, I don't know.
I would say, well, the feeling originally started from like when I tried the cough syrup for the first time. It's like this warm and fuzzy feeling that it's hard to explain. It just like basically felt like everything was like in peace, right? It just like it was like a missing piece of the puzzle, and the missing piece was there, and it just made me feel normal. And then I just took that feeling, and heroin is just a much stronger effect from cough syrup or just any of these opiates. It's the exact same thing, is just amplified.
Got it.
So it's this feeling that is just hard to explain. It just made me feel really good and content about everything.
So what made you get sober?
It was actually my brother. I still to this day don't know how he found me and where I was in San Francisco and was like, hey, like we can get you some help. And I was like, let's do it. So I was a little bit hesitant at first for sure, but then I said yes. And thank God, because he was like, "Yeah, we can help get your teeth fixed. You can get sober. Like, you can try this again." And then I just like saw it in his eyes. I was like, "I have to do this." So I actually ended up going to Israel for 10 months. And then thanks to that program in Israel, I was able to basically get sober.
Hmm. Was there at any point before this instance where people had tried? Because I imagine like there's many times where someone's like, "You need to fucking change your life," and I'm sure there's some pushback from you and all that stuff because it's you make it seem like it was just like this very easy thing to just say yes to. But was there like many instances where people were trying to get you to change and you were like, "Nah," or just didn't even respond?
There was a lot of instances. Yeah, I went to rehab several times. I tried it, would get sober for a little bit, and then would just go right back. And I think the longest I've ever went before Israel was about 6 months, but it was on Suboxone, so I don't really know if that counts as sobriety. It's just
Mm.
like a band-aid for opiates. It's very similar to methadone, but that was like I would say the longest I went, and then I just couldn't do it until I went to Israel.
Got it. So what in Israel specifically made it so that you were able to like are you just like completely isolated and just this compound or something like that? Like what makes Israel the rehab over there so effective?
That's exactly right. So they took away my phone, my passport. They took everything away. So even if you did leave, you're kind of screwed. Being in a foreign country to try to get drugs and like to do anything is very difficult, and especially not having a phone. So you're basically stuck there unless you want to go take the risk. And there was a lot of people that would leave and then they would be right back.
Mm.
So, and being so far away from everything just like made you think about your whole life essentially. And they pretty much just re-taught me how to live, because before being a drug addict, like you're not really living like a human. You're just living, I guess, almost like an animal, because all you care about is drugs and like you steal. And I did a lot of bad things to get drugs. Looking back at it, like I would never do such a thing in sobriety, right? So it's like Israel really made me realize like I can do this. And I saw other people that were sober. They were like saying, "Oh, I have this many years." I'm like, okay, well, I mean, if they can do it, like, let me give this a try. And then I only had that realization like 5 or 6 months in, I would say. And then I was there for 10 total and I was able to stay sober.
Wow. What an incredible story, man. I really appreciate you sharing. I I've been sober now for probably like 20 months or so. So it'll be 2 years in July.
Let's go. It's so
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah. I
awesome.
honestly think it's just the unspoken superpower. And I really, really wish that everyone would just try it. Like even just cutting back or just trying to go like a month or 3 months without doing anything. Because when I first started, I had, if you mean, let's take a step back. If you even thought or looked at me a couple years ago, there was like no way I'd be sober now. But I've had some like pretty bad experiences. And um, for me, it was either like sober or blacked out. And so there's like no in between. I've always had struggle with like moderation and all that stuff. But yeah, I think it's the best thing that's happened to me. And I will never go back wholeheartedly.
And how long into it did you realize that you would never want to go back to drinking?
Honestly, so the very first time I did it, I actually quit for 6 months. And then after that 6 months, I went to like a wedding and then I was just like very quickly just started drinking and doing other things very quickly. And then after about 2 or 3 months, I yeah, I had a pretty traumatic experience to be honest. I was at a club and pretty much got roofied and so ended up having like I ended up like looking at them that next morning and spending like a couple $1,000 honestly. And that was like a very scary thing. And just that feeling when you just wake up and have no recollection of what happened is like the worst feeling ever. And I just remember having so much guilt and just feeling like so shitty. I was like, you know, fuck this, I'm never doing it again. And so I mean, I know it's not as traumatic as other people's experiences, but for me, is like I've had so many instances where I just like blacked out and just like had no idea what happened, and like like I used to like go to festivals all the time, do a bunch of other shit, and then I would like throw my credit cards into the crowd, like yeah, so many bad experiences. But
Well, the
I,
thing is, like, everybody's bottom is different, right? So it's a good thing, like, that your bottom was where you're at. It's a good thing where my bottom was at. You can't compare yourself to other people, because it took me a lot worse and a lot crazier shit to happen to for me to realize like, hey, I need to be sober. So it's kind of a blessing that you stopped when you stopped, because it could be a lot worse. I've seen people much older than me in a way worse situation. I'm like, holy crap! Like, I'm glad I got sober at 23 versus 53. Or
totally,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, there's just so many reasons for me to not do it. Like for me, the biggest things were like trying to save money because if you doing any kind of drugs or alcohol, that shit's so expensive. If you go out to eat, double your tab, right? If you're going to do bottle service, whatever, that could be thousands of dollars. For me, I knew that I wanted to be on this path of growth and just like always trying to better myself and be on real estate and all that. And there's like no days that I could afford to be hungover. So I knew that was another huge reason. And I just love to be present. I know that when I'm drinking, like there's that haze, right? And so all the conversations that you have with people, either you don't remember or the conversations are very superficial. And so now I think that the conversations I have are very authentic, very real, and I love being able to connect with people at a much deeper level. So I don't know. I think it's just big unspoken superpower that no one talks about, but I'll never go back.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, the clarity that I have in sobriety is just unbelievable. It's great.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice that you'd give to someone who is thinking about it or is struggling with addiction?
I would say at least give it a chance because there is brighter. It is brighter on the other side for sure. Being sober has been the best thing I've ever done, and if I can do it, I know anybody else can. I was at a very very low bottom in my life.
Mhm. Are there any specific things that you do like daily or weekly? Do you go to meetings? Do you do like reflections daily? Like what helps keep you sober?
Well, the main thing that helps me be sober is just remembering where I came from and never going back to that place. I think all the morning routines and stuff like that that I have, it's not gonna help. It's gonna help me be sober, but that's just like structure that I have in my day.
Mhm.
But what really keeps me sober is first of all, not disappointing myself, my family, and just going back into that time of my life. I had a realization the other day. I was like whatever it takes to be sober, I will be sober. Like it doesn't matter because it's just not worth it to ever go back. And I
Mhm.
also know if I take a sip of alcohol or drink anything, there's a huge chance that I'm gonna die. So I'm like, you know what? I want to live. So let's not do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Cause I can't control it just like you. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's crazy. I think for anyone who's considering it, I mean, obviously you can reach out to us. I'm always happy to talk to other people. But I think really, like, I don't know if you've ever read Atomic Habits, but make a situation really hard to do if you can. Like, for instance, maybe don't go to the clubs or in situations or parties where you know there's other things surrounded around you. Um, yeah, maybe not going out on the weekends with certain friends, distancing yourself from certain people, whatever it may be. If you have to go to meetings, go to meetings. But I think you got to be very intentional about all these things.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. It's definitely if you're around the wrong things, then bad things will happen. So I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. So you got sober, and then this is when you were in sales, or was it before sales or after? So this is you got sober and then got the sales job in tech sales.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So as after I got sober is when I was able to get normal jobs. In my addiction, have had jobs before, but I wasn't able to keep them just because my priority was getting high, not working.
Mm. How long was that from when you got sober and you left Israel until you got that first job?
So originally, after Israel, I went to Florida, and in Florida, it was a halfway house that from the program, and I had zero skills at that point. Like I didn't really know much at all. So my first job was like landscaping and like basically helping this contractor as like a handyman. So just like being his assistant almost. So I did that and I did valet. So I would run around all day, have shin splints and just like work my ass off. And then I got the Verizon job. And then the Verizon job really changed my life. I was able to talk to people better, just be much better in sales. And then from that I grew my sales career.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's crazy. Such a powerful story, man. It's so incredible to hear. What do you so right now? You said you're focused on the flipping. What's been the biggest challenges, I guess, right now for flipping? Is it your deal flow? Is it capital? What is it?
Definitely deal flow. Capital, we pretty much have ready to go. We have a lot of investors that want to do flips with us, and it's just finding the right deals at a deep enough discount
Got it. Okay. And these flips that you're doing, where do you live now?
in Denver.
So you're doing all of them in Denver?
Not all of them. So most of them are in Denver, and then we're doing some in San Antonio and Sacramento. So just those three markets.
Okay. Got it. And how are you finding these specific deals? Is it all off market stuff or just
Mostly
agents?
through agents and wholesalers. I would say the majority of the deals do come from wholesalers.
Okay. And how are you been able to find these wholesalers? I want to just like, try and give as much value to the audience as possible, maybe like tactical things and all that.
Yeah, it's just networking, right? Going to different meetups, talking to different people, even on Facebook, any kind of groups that you're part of, just kind of just posting about what you're looking for, and then people will reach out, or you can even go on people's posts, just see, and then just get on a Zoom with them and just basically get to know them and see how you can bring each other value.
Okay. Okay. Deal flow. How did you find your current partners? Because I think that's something that a lot of people can struggle with, especially if they're doing their first one or second one. I think finding quality partners is challenging. So, how did you find your partners, and what are some of the, I guess, complementing skill sets that you have from one another?
So I met Virgin Angel at a meetup actually, and then I first met Angel actually at a meetup in Sacramento. This was a couple years ago, and we just became friends. And he was like, "Hey, I want to start doing creative finance," and I was like, "Well, I already do it." And we started teaming up, and we assigned a lot of deals together. And then we met Verge. We met our other partner as well, and it didn't work out with him. So my biggest advice would be to vet your partners, 100% vet them, and I would definitely do a background check and just to make sure that they are solid because we went through a lot of things in our partnerships and looking back we would have changed some things, but you live and you learn, right? So we learned from all these mistakes.
Yeah. What are some of the complementing skill sets that you and your two other partners have? Like, are you really good at finding the deals? Other people are good at, um, I guess, communicating with wholesalers and agents. Like, what are the things that you're really good at and the other people are?
So the thing that I'm good at is talking to investors and raising capital, and then Virgin Angel, they're in charge of finding all the deals and basically the acquisition side.
Got it. Okay. So you're doing a lot of capital raising. How have you been able to raise capital? Because that's such a incredible skill to have, especially in real estate. Everyone runs out of money at some point. So how do you raise capital so efficiently?
It's really just being able to talk to people, right? And you just find out exactly what they do. I don't ever just say, "Hey, are you a PML? Do you want to lend on my deal?" Like they'll be like, "What are you talking about?" And that's not how I go about it. Just building relationships with different people and just building a big network. That's what it comes down to.
Got it. Did you have to have a track record before you started raising capital? Because I mean, I have not raised any capital yet, and so I'm just kind of curious, like what that first raise was like for you. Did you have to have one deal under your belt, and you're like, now they trust you? Did you start having these conversations early on before you had like other deals? Like what was that process like for you?
Well, in the beginning, when we had zero deals, and yeah, I was just transparent with them. I just told them, "Hey, like this is the first one, or this is the second one." It's all about transparency, and if you just let them know what's going on, it's up to them if they want to lend or not. But if you're just honest with them about everything, it makes it so much easier.
Hmm. Okay. What kind of terms do you typically offer your like lenders?
So on the flips, what we do is the PMP model, which is private money partner.
Hmm.
So our hard money lender, they give us 85 to 90% of the purchase price typically, and so we have to come up with the rest of the down payment and then the holding cost for the 6 months. So our investors, they come in, they help us fund the deal, and then everybody's on the LLC with us,
Hmm.
and then we split the profits with them 50-50 at the end.
Nice. Okay, so you're pretty much using very little of your own money. That's awesome, dude. They're mostly equity partners.
Exactly. On the flip side, they are.
Okay, got it. Okay,
And it makes it a lot easier because they're actually part of the LLC instead of just a lender. So they are essentially in control just like us.
got it. And you do one LLC per flip.
Correct.
Got it. Wow, that's awesome. What's been your favorite flip so far?
One that we have in Sloan's Lake, it's in Denver. It's almost done. That one is going to be awesome. So I'll definitely send it to you when it's done. We're super excited about it. It's going to be on the market in a couple weeks.
Nice. Okay. What's been your biggest challenge? I mean, besides the addiction and all that stuff, like as far in real estate, what's the worst deal you've had? I want to hear some learning lessons. That's where people learn.
Um, the worst deal we've had, I would say, is a sub two deal that we originally bought to wrap it. We weren't able to wrap it, so now it takes.
What's wrapping really quick?
It's called a wraparound mortgage. So just to make it simple, let's just say you have a sub two deal at 3%, and then you do a wrap at like 6 or 7%, and then essentially you're arbitraging the interest rate.
Okay.
So that's one exit strategy that we had. That particular house we weren't able to wrap, so now it takes a 2,000 a month loss as a long term rental. Let's say that's the worst one. And it's a lot of learning lessons when it comes to these deals, right? It's like some of them do make money, and then some of them don't.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, give me all the learning lessons as fast as possible because that's how you grow the fastest. Like my first flip, huge loss. We lost like 20,000 each of my partners. Um, and everything that could have went wrong on the flip went wrong, honestly. Like there was things with the title, there was things with the so there's pretty much two parcels. One parcel was on the recorded deed. The other parcel, I guess, was never conveyed when the person when the trustee received it from her mom who passed away. And so essentially we only owned half the property. And this is when we were trying to sell the property when we realized this. And so the new buyers pretty much had to go through probate and all this stuff. And our hard money loan was due. It's just like the worst thing ever. And it was just so fucking stressful. But you know what? Now I have the confidence to do other things. And now I'm doing the burn property. And I never would have had that confidence had I not gone through the first one. So I think just go through these things as fast as possible. You know?
Yeah, the more mistakes that happen, the more you learn. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. What's another big piece of advice that you have for someone who's like interested or looking to get started in real estate?
The biggest piece of advice would be just to take action, and just try it. Even because I would overanalyze and overthink so much in the beginning. I was like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. And then I would just be like so iffy about it, but it's just try it. And if it doesn't work, okay, you can move on to the next thing, but at least you gave it a shot.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you so much, dude. What else? Do you have any other final thoughts to give to the listeners?
Yeah, I would just say, be very picky who you do business with and make sure that they are solid people. We've learned a ton of lessons over the years. You know, you just have to pick the right people, and you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah. What's your 5-year vision? Do you want to keep doing flipping? You want to get to the point where you're doing 20 flips a year? You want to go into commercial real estate? Like, what's your big 5-year vision, 10-year vision?
Yeah, the next thing that we're going to be working on in the next couple of years is going to be business acquisition. So we're still going to be flipping, but we are also going to be shifting to business acquisition.
Okay. So you're going to be using the flipping as the active income stream and then use that to purchase small businesses.
Well, our next step is to basically start buying businesses, and we can use our own funds, but we can also raise capital on them. So it'll be a mixture of both.
Got it. Okay. Cool. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on, Alex. This has been super helpful. And I really appreciate you sharing your story. It's very powerful, honestly. And I really think that people can gain a lot from this.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you having me on. And yeah, if anybody does struggle with addiction, I'm always here. You can always send me a DM, and I do have other people reach out, and I'm able to get on a phone call with them and talk to them, which is super, super rewarding.
Yeah. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Either probably Instagram, I would say, is the easiest.
What's your Instagram plug?
It's just my first and last name, so Alex Kamenetsky, and then it'll come up.
Okay. Cool. Well, everyone, I hope you guys found value from today's episode. I know I did. Yeah. Appreciate you guys coming on. As always, keep growing, keep taking action. See you on the next one. Peace.